Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks College Football Huddle. Good to be back. We've been on hiatus for, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that. We missed everybody. We hope you show us some love and come back. We hope to be back and better than ever. We're going to have some football here in just a few weeks, guys. Week 0, I guess it's going to be really – week 0 is 8/23, which is only we're having some issues on Facebook, apparently. Hang on, guys. I don't know what's going on. We're going to try to get this going again. Facebook is having some issues tonight. We had the same problem when I was sharing the professional sports show earlier as well. So bear with me a second while I try to get this sucker going. Well, no wonder there's nobody with us, because half my sites are down, for crying out loud. Does anybody even Facebook? You kill me. Well, we're live on YouTube and Twitter anyway, and hopefully the Facebook crowd can join us soon. I'm going to keep it monitored. But we're back. We've been on a summer hiatus, as we have done in the past, and we're, I said, a couple of weeks away from football. I don't see us going live here. Hang on one second. Facebook is, I really don't even want to I don't even want to be on there. I don't want to be on their platforms anymore, for crying out loud. If you can't get my show on live, what do I need you for? This is why we're going to concentrate on some other platforms here. I think I see why. I didn't stop sharing. That's my own bad. I didn't stop sharing. They'll be with us in a second, then, I think. I never stopped sharing. I never stopped sharing the previous show was on. Facebook won't support 2 streams at once anymore. So if I could, I'd start all over again, but we cannot do that either. We'll continue trying to get the show live for you guys. And I think if I get in here, I can probably. Usually I can get in here and end this, but hang on one second. Well, it's going. Let's see if we go live in a second. Give it a second. You guys on Facebook and YouTube, bear with me. We apologize for the rough start to the show, but it's more Facebook than it is us, I promise you. I'm trying my best to keep these guys afloat, and like I'm keeping Facebook afloat, right? Anyway, let's see what happens. We're going to have a very quiet show tonight, and a very short one probably, if we can't get live on. Well, I'm still not live, so I'm not sure what we're going to do here. Trying to get you guys live on Facebook. Stay with me. That's all I can say. Anyway, college football's coming. We'll go through the top 25 tonight. We'll look at some of the teams in that top 10 that maybe won't finish in the top 10. By the way, 7 of the top 10 teams in the country have got new first-year quarterbacks, or mostly first-year quarterbacks. What are the top storylines to look for this year? Belichick effect. Who's going to come from outside the top 25 and surprise, like Boise State and South Carolina last year? Who are there going to be those teams this year? Still don't see us live on Facebook. There we go. Now we're live. Anyway, hopefully we're live and everybody can see us now, and I apologize for the delay. Got a few people coming in now. Anyway, welcome back. Football's here. Rough start to our first show back from hiatus, and my apologies. What else will we look at tonight? I tell you, week 1 has got some really great matchups right now. Even week 0, I think, has some great matchups with Iowa State taking on Kansas State. We got Fresno State and Kansas. Kansas trying to get back on track with Lance Leopold. The game I really like in week 0, and we'll talk about week 1 too. The game I like in week 0 is UNLV at Idaho State. It doesn't sound like much on paper, or as we talk about it here, But this is the debut of Dan Mullen at UNLV, and as Dan Mullen, who's had great success at Mississippi State, had really good early success with Florida. Will he be able to turn UNLV into maybe? And they were in contention for that group of 5 slot last year in the playoff. So will they be able to maybe turn the corner there? Maybe. Still New Mexico's offensive coordinator. A lot of good things happen in Vegas. We'll get into some of that. There's news off the field always, and we're going to try, as we get closer to the season, I want to stay on the field and forget about the NIL and all this other nonsense. But the NCAA's had a policy revamp that gives them the power for more influence, where they have got to pretty much okay any major changes that are going to be made to NCAA rules or policies or whatnot. Let's them, increase their voting shares to 16.1% each. That means 2 conferences control 32% of the votes. That's probably not cool. That's one small issue, right? We know that the House, since we left the House settlement, that basically is going to pay all this money, pay-for-play money to a bunch of former players and current players, and it was supposed to be basically a cap, if you will. We knew it wasn't going to happen. The NIL will just go back under the table. They're not going to stick. Texas Tech is spending $55 million this year on their roster. They're going to go back to $20 million next year. That's not going to happen. NIL will still be alive and well in college sports. Don't worry about that. The Pac-12 will be back in 2026. They now have their 8th team since we last talked to you guys. Texas State has agreed to join the Pac-12, along with, who else have they got over there? I know we've got charter members. And by the way, it's not often that you're going to have what is almost a brand new league that also has 100 years of history to go along with it. But they're going to be able to play now in 2026, as Texas State has joined. Let's see. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head here because I don't have it in front of me. Washington State, Oregon, Texas State now, Boise State. Gonzaga's not a football member, so that doesn't count. There's a couple other Mountain West schools that are in there. I'll have to find the information. We'll talk more about it, but they'll be back. And I think it's good news. Time will tell, I guess. What else? I think we're going to dive right into the top 25. We're going to use the coaches poll because it's the only one we have to go by right now. And when we have the AP poll, which is what we like to go with, we'll go back to that. But we're going to look at the top 25. We'll talk about some teams we think are overrated, maybe rated too high. Some teams that aren't in that maybe should be considered. And also, we want to take a look at the top 10 teams. And there's always somebody in that top 10 who just, again, think Florida State last year, who just totally flames out. Who's that going to be this year? And who might come from the outside? Hello, Anthony. How are you? Looks like I changed the font a little bit on the comments. If Alabama misses the playoffs again, will the NCAA fall? No. NCAA is very strong. I mean, is Alabama an important brand for them? Sure. But as long as the SEC and the Big Ten are very strong and don't secede from the NCAA or the college football playoff as we know it, the NCAA will be fine. Remember, Alabama, before Nick Saban, people forget, between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, Alabama was a wasteland much of that time. They won a championship under Gene Stallings, late 90s, mid to late 90s. But they went through, Ray Perkins. They went through Du Bois. They went through Dennis Francione. They went through Shula, not Don Shula, by the way, David Shula, or his brother. I forget. Who else? Bill Curry. About 7 coaches before they got to Nick Saban and hit the jackpot again. So, yeah, the NCAA will survive without Alabama. Is it better? Sure. Every sport has certain teams where the sport's better. Personally, I think Notre Dame, absolutely Notre Dame. College football is better when Notre Dame is good. They're better when Ohio State and Michigan are good. They're better when Alabama is good. They're better when Texas is good. Hello, James. Good to have you with us. Floppy javelin. We are going to probably make sloppy javelin. That's even a worse thing, isn't it? Sloppy javelin. Danny Fuller, good to have you with us, my friend. Always somebody not in the top 10 that makes a splash. Let's take a look. Who's that going to be, Danny? Forget out the top 10 even. I mean, last year, South Carolina almost got to the playoff, was not in the top 25. Boise State was not in the top 25, got in the playoff. Arizona State, I do not believe, was in the top 25. Won the Big 12. So, good stuff there. Michael, good to have you with us tonight. Dropping in for a minute. We always appreciate your support, Michael, or one of our newer viewers, but also good stuff. Michael does some great writing, and I've tried to talk him into sharing it on TGI Sports Talk, but get some other outlets. Good stuff. You want to be there. Michael, your writing is really good. He apologizes for sending me this stuff, thinking he's bothering me. My God. Captain, oh, Captain. Anthony says it's a chance for LSU fall and Ole Miss rise. We'll see. I guess it's going to be a tough year for, again, a guy I like. A lot of coaches, a lot of people don't like Coach, what am I forgetting? Lane Kiffin. I tend to like Lane Kiffin, so. Your grandson says SC. Have you disowned him? What have you done? I mean, how old is he? Danny? I mean, I'm not sure how you do that. I mean, nobody. We can't allow family disputes like this in our family. No, I'm not kind. You write some great stuff, buddy. You really do. Let's look at this top 25 quick so that we can kind of talk about who might be overrated, who might be underrated. The first 5, I don't see any surprises here. Actually, 1. Texas is number 1. A first-year quarterback, by the way. Ohio State, number 2, first-year quarterback. Penn State, they have the most seasoned quarterback of anybody we'll talk about maybe here tonight in Drew Allar. Georgia is number 4. I think Georgia is a team. I'm sorry, Rick Sherlock, if you're here. Georgia's a team. If somebody were going to fall, I would say Georgia's a potential for that. Notre Dame, who I think has had a great offseason. A lot's going to depend on the quarterback here. Another first-year quarterback. Clemson has got Klubnik, who is a very seasoned veteran. Again, that might be one of the great storylines. You know, there's some great storylines in here. Does Penn State finally break through? Not as long as James Franklin there, I say. Does Notre Dame finally break through? I think Notre Dame is going to have some sustained success, by the way. Does Dabo Swinney get his 3rd national championship? Are they on their way back? Oregon, Alabama. Does Brian DeBoer get the monkey off his back? It's only been a year. Give him a break, man. That was not a good football team last year, though. LSU, when do they start calling for Brian Kelly's head if they don't play some defense? And Miami, again, ranked in the top 10 to start the season. Last year was top 15. Last year, they didn't make the playoff again. Marco Cristobal's got to start getting this team over the hump. This team should have been in the playoff last year. Zero reason for not to be there. They did not play good defensive football. They didn't play smart defensive football. That's your top 10. Miami's a good bet. With Carson Beck, if his arm's not healthy, it's possible they fall out of the top 25. Again, I'm going to probably be blasphemous, and I'm sorry. I think Georgia's a candidate to fall out of the top 25. Maybe even Clemson is. Maybe even Alabama is. There's no sure things here for sure. What am I missing here? Sorry, LSU. I forgot about James here. I'll get to your second. He's 15 and about to be disowned. I can't imagine. I mean, it's like me as a Yankee fan. Now, my stepson is a Red Sox fan. When we sold our old house, he'd already moved out. He was finishing up. I think when we moved, he'd already taken a job at Pfizer, but he was finishing up his doctorate at North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and everything that was Red Sox owned went to, we got junk. Should have taken it with him. Sorry. Just the way it works. LSU's not falling this season. They're too deep. Question is, are they deep on defense? I was reading an article. I think it was Mandel. The question, the mailbox, and the Athletic today, and he said his dream matchup was like the finals. The semifinals would be USC and Notre Dame. With all the, by the way, there's some talk about that rivalry ending and their season, their yearly series ending, yearly game ending. That would be a great matchup. And then Texas and I think Oklahoma on the other side or something like that. And then it would be, USC. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, but no, LSU. Sorry, my bad. LSU and Texas on the other side. And the matchup in the final would be LSU and USC. And if the final score would hit like 160 final total. Listen, I'm a Coach Kelly fan, James. I think you know that, but he has under. I don't think you can argue that this team has underperformed. You say they're deep. They've been good and talented, especially on the offensive side of the football, for a couple of years. They had a Heisman Trophy winner 2 years ago, and where they finished. They didn't even make the playoff last year with Nussbaum, who's talked about being a top 10 pick this year. I don't see it. There's something. I got to believe Coach Kelly's going to be under some pressure, and the buyout's the only thing that could save him. If this team goes 9-4 again, is that good enough? I'm going to go through LSU's schedule right now. It's going to be my first one of the year. We do this pretty much every week, right? We get into looking at a schedule and predicting. And it's not too early now. We're in August, and we're 3 weeks from games, guys. Some really good ones, by the way. I think in week 0, there's a couple of really good matchups. And I think in week 1, we got 3 awesome matchups. You got 3 matchups in week 1 of top 10 teams. We'll get that in a second. For James's benefit, I'm going to start with the Tigers. Our first look at a schedule. Let's go. At Clemson. You always lose your first game. 0-1. Louisiana Tech, win. You get Florida at home, and I think you're going to find out about 2 teams in this game because Florida had a great finish last year. If I'm not mistaken, all of their losses came to teams that were, at the time they lost to them, in the top 15 in the country. Billy Napier got himself off the hot seat onto a little bit less hot seat. Maybe it's even a lukewarm seat. We're going to find out about 2 teams in that. I'm going to give LSU the win, though. So I'll give them 2-1. South of Western Louisiana, they're going to win. It's 3-1. Ole Miss. At Ole Miss. Ole Miss, I think, is rebuilding. I think it's going to be rebuilding here for Lane Kiffin. I'll give you a win on the road. They had a thrilling game last year, if you remember. 4-1. You're going to lose to South Carolina, even at home. Norris is the best, maybe the best quarterback in the country. I think they lose to South Carolina at home. 4-2. Win at Vanderbilt, 5-2. Texas A&M at home, I'll give you that one, 6-2. At Alabama, 6-3. Beat Arkansas, beat Western Kentucky, beat Oklahoma. 9-3 regular season. Going to be good enough to get to the SEC championship game? I could be wrong here, obviously. I mean, I could see them maybe South Carolina, they win a squeaker maybe. Make them 10-2. What I give you? How many conference losses did I give you there, by the way? I gave you 2. I gave you, just 2 conference losses. So they could be in play for the championship game. Again, I think we'll see a similar scenario to last year where these teams in the SEC cannibalize each other. You're not going to see undefeated teams. Michael Gott from the UK. How are you, my friend? Talking to Lane Kiffin. What's Ole Miss's chances? Well, I think Ole Miss is rebuilding this year. They got a lot to replace. I guess I can't do it this way. Well, but since you bring it up, I'll do their schedule too. Very quickly, Michael, for you. I like Mississippi State. Mississippi. This is just a tough. I mean, I look at the SEC. I think Alabama is going to be better this year, even though they lost Milroe. I think with DeBoer getting his offensive coordinator back that he had in Washington, I think they're going to be better prepared. They're going to have a quarterback that fits their system better, even though Milroe is a great college quarterback. They're going to be better. Auburn, I think, is going to be better. Florida, if they continue that momentum, Georgia, you can't count out, although I think they're one of the teams that are likely to maybe take a dip. Kentucky's always tough with Stoops. Down year last year. Watch for them to bounce back a little bit. LSU's tough, as James said. Mississippi State, no. Missouri's tough. Oklahoma's going to be much better. By the way, there's going to be no coach in the country with more pressure on him this year than Brett Venable. They brought in Mateer to play quarterback. He's going to need to. He may need to get to the SEC championship to win it all. Maybe make the playoff if he doesn't get to the SEC championship game. Ole Miss we'll talk about in a second. South Carolina, really, really good, well coached. Had a great finish to the season last year. I can see that carrying over. Tennessee's going to be tough. Josh Heupel's a really good coach. They've got a tough game in week 1 with Syracuse at a neutral site. A&M, going to be tough. Texas, the number 1 team in the country. Vanderbilt had a pretty good year last year. This is a tough conference. Ole Miss, rebuilding. Let's look at their season. Georgia State, they should beat. At Kentucky, I think is a loss. That's 1-1. I'll give them Arkansas at home is 2-1. I'll give you a win at home against Tulane, but do not count out Tulane. That's 3-1. They lose LSU, as I said, 3-2. At Washington State, I think they lose 3-3. At Georgia, loss. They can't win on the road against Georgia or Alabama. That's 3-4. At Oklahoma, that's 3-5. I think they lose to South Carolina. That's 3-6. Beat the Citadel, 4-6. I think they lose to Florida. I think this is a 5-7 team this year. And I love Lane Kiffin. Michael, I just think it's going to be a tough year. Hello, AC. How are you? College football is officially back with this show. I said we'd be back with a bang, and we're trying to do that. Let's bring it. Could I say college football? Could I say football is better, Keith, when the Canes are good? Yeah, I would say that. Again, they're my team, and I hate to sound like a homer. They're better. Well, you know what? It isn't necessary that the Canes are good because the Canes were no good for 20 years. And look at it. As a Hurricanes fan, I've said this a bunch on this show, and I'll repeat it here. People think there's this great history with Miami and Miami football, but there isn't. There's a 20-year span from basically 1983 to 2003, where they were maybe the best program in football overall. Maybe one of them. They won a bunch of national championships. But before that, they were irrelevant. Since then, they've been basically irrelevant. We've been trying to get them back in at the end of Mark Richt's tenure. They got off to some great starts. It looked like they were back, and they'd fade at the end of the year. The last couple of years under Marco Cristobal, great preseason expectations, great start to the season last year that ended in disaster against Georgia Tech. And then at a game I sat and watched in Syracuse where they just gave away the ACC championship game opportunity, and in turn, no shot at the playoff. So I think college football is better when Miami's good, yes. And they're playing some of their top rivals like Florida State, Notre Dame. They don't play those teams every year. We'll look at Miami's schedule at some point. I do see I got a down year for Mississippi State, though, 5-7 this year. You know, AC, and you and I had a great ride last year, right, with Notre Dame, all the way to the national championship game. As I said, I had a future bet that was worth $8,000 for them to win, and they made it all. It didn't look like it after they lost to Northern Illinois at home. I thought the season was done. I thought my bet was done. They fought back. This is a well-coached team. I know some of you don't think Marcus Freeman's all that. I think Marcus Freeman, another team could have had a lost season last year after that Northern Illinois game. I think Marcus Freeman's done a tremendous job since he's been there. I really do. He's been learning on the job, don't forget. I think he's gotten better and better. I didn't think he did a bad job necessarily in the championship game. There was one play that kind of threw me, but it's not coming to me right now. But I think Marcus Freeman's done a really good job. Penn State, on the other hand, this team's talented every year, AC. They're one of the most talented teams in the country. They've got one of the top-ranked quarterbacks, and they had one last year in LR, and this year. James Franklin can't beat top 10 teams. His record is atrocious against top 10 teams. It's like 5 and whatever. I'm going to find out right now. And it's even worse against Michigan and Ohio State. Bear with me 1 second while I get to Franklin against top 10. Let's see if that's enough. Give me what I want. James Franklin record against top 10 opponents, 4-20. 4-20 against top 5 teams, 1-15. He's 1-9 against Ohio State. You've got to beat these teams to be able to get to the playoff. Just in the Big Ten, and I'm not sure what his schedule is. I'll have to look at it, I guess. But, you've got Ohio State's in the top 10. Michigan's is number 14. That might be too high. Bryce Underwood better be really good. I don't know. AC, I want to be wrong. I like Penn State. I have nothing against James Franklin. He can't get it done. I don't know. We're looking at teams that come from outside the top 25. I know I'd love to believe that, right? I'm on record as saying Bill Belichick will be one and done in North Carolina because he could be back in the NFL. I may be wrong. But they don't have an easy schedule this year. It's going to be very tough for North Carolina to be that team. I know we didn't get to the rest of the top 25, but we'll get there, I promise you. Let me go to let's just look at North Carolina real quick for the hell of it. Oops, I must have gone by it. I don't think the schedule is all that kind. I think they lose opening day. I mean, that's, I'm sorry, week 1. We have week 0 and week 1, don't forget. Probably the 4th best game on the schedule that day is North Carolina and Bill Belichick's debut. They got an 8 o'clock start on ESPN against TCU. I think they're going to lose that game. So lose to TCU, win to Charlotte, win to Richmond. That's 2-1. I think they're going to lose at UCF. That's 2-2. Lose to Clemson, 3-2 or 2-3. Beat Cal, 3-3. Beat Virginia, 4-3. They're going to lose at Syracuse. Syracuse is good again, I'll tell you right now. That's 4-4. Beat Stanford, 5-4. Beat Wake Forest, 6-4. 8-4 to me is a high water mark here. If they beat Duke and North Carolina State their last 2 games, they go 8-4. If they surprise me against TCU, maybe you got a 9-3 start. But to me, if they beat TCU, I think they'll lose to Duke or North Carolina State, let's say. I think this smells like an 8-4 team. But if you want to pick an outsider, that's a pretty good bet. I'd hate to see that rivalry end, USC and Notre Dame. I agree, Michael. And again, this is the problem with these super conferences. There's no room to schedule. Well, first of all, they go to 9-game schedules. They're not going to schedule anybody good outside of the conference. The only way you're going to keep these rivalries, and I don't want it to happen this way, is if the SEC and the Big Ten are going to get their 4 automatic bids to a 16-team tournament. I don't want that. To me, that is not the way this ought to be done. But it would be a shame for USC, Notre Dame to go away. Just like it was a shame that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State can't play anymore. Oklahoma and Nebraska don't play anymore. Texas and Texas A&M didn't play for, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years maybe. It is. It's a huge, and that's one of the big downsides with college football in my mind is the fact that some of these rivalries, especially the regional rivalries, have gone away or are going away because of realignment. And I think they're losing sight. I've said this all along. I've had this phrase in my head since the very beginning of all of this realignment in 2012. College football is a regional game with national appeal, right? It starts with the regional rivalries. People care about those. And they're big draws, but I get it, you know. We are going to get a really good first week, though, I can tell you, with some good rivalries. What happens to SEC dominance? Can you guys see the comments okay, by the way, on the screen? I'm curious because I made them smaller so that when I have a lot of them, you know, you're not looking at the top of my head bobbing. Or I should say a large comment with a lot of words in it. I don't know how to explain it. What happens to the SEC dominance narrative if they don't have a team win the national championship this year? Well, they didn't have it win it last year, right? Actually, they haven't had a team win it in how many years? The last 2 years. The dominant factor is still there because they've got the money. TV, and again, these TV contracts aren't going away. The NCAA keeps giving more and more power to the Power 4 conferences and to the SEC and the Big Ten specifically. Ironically, it's the Big Ten that's really pushing this for automatic bid deal to the playoff. And I think if they do that, they'll kill it. They go to 16 teams. I'm all for 5 plus 11, right? Top 5 conference winners ranked wise and 11 at-larges. That's what they want to do. I'd still rather, the one I stole that I got sued from Basement Bob for I'd still rather see that. All the conference winners play. That's only 10, and give me 6 at-large teams. I think that would be fun. But they're not going to lose the narrative's not going to go away, because the people who drive the narrative, AC, are the people that have the most invested in this, and that's ESPN and the other networks that broadcast SEC games. So no, the narrative won't go away. The defense is much better this season. Still talking about LSU. We don't know, though, do we, James, until we see him on the field? I heard this about them last year. What's ironic is I kept hearing the opposite thing in Notre Dame when Kelly was there. The offense is going to be better this year. He had some great defenses in Notre Dame, and I kept hearing the offense was going to catch up to the defense, and it never did. Now the narrative is, the defense is catching up with the offense. Heard that the last 2 years. I haven't seen it yet. I mean, just a little bit better would make this team a really good contender. I mean, I had them at 9-3, right? And now if the defense plays better, now maybe that's an 11-1 team. I don't think we're going to see a 11-1 team out of the SEC, because I think that team or that league is going to once again cannibalize itself, which again, unless they're going to get their 4 automatic bids at some point, that's not going to be good for them. Does Florida have that big boy? That really, really, really big boy? That was who was that? What you're talking about? I think I know who you're talking about. I don't know if he's back there or not. Nobody's going undefeated. Come on, James. Seriously. Now, come on. So you've got them winning at Alabama. Now, this isn't an easy schedule, by the way, right? I mean, I lost them now. Hold on. Don't be like all these other freaking, I'm a Miami fan. I'm not going to tell you Miami's going undefeated. Or the Patriots. Let me look at this again. So you think they're going to go undefeated? That means they got to win at Clemson. They got to beat Florida, who's a top 15 team. They got to go to Ole Miss, which I said they'll win. They're going to have to beat South Carolina, which is a top 15 team. They're going to have to go to Alabama and win. And they got to go to Oklahoma and win. And they've got some tougher games in there that I've got them winning, but still. Ole Miss is losable on the road. A&M, still well coached. I can't see this team or anybody in the SEC going undefeated. Huge game for LSU versus Alabama. Huge game for them against Clemson. They can't win their first game. They haven't won a first game under Brian Kelly yet. I like Clemson in this game. Huge game for LSU versus Alabama. Agreed. Win that. Listen, this team could get in at 9-3. I'm not telling you LSU won't be in a playoff, even with the record I just gave them. Because if I'm not mistaken, I gave them only one loss in the SEC, and that was at Florida. I did say South Carolina might beat them at home, though. If they could take care of business against South Carolina at home, they'll have one loss, maybe undefeated in the conference. Is that what you're saying? James, just undefeated in the conference? I think they lose to Clemson the first week, so I don't think they're going undefeated overall. I like Brian Kelly. I'd like them to be better. The Ducks will be good. The Ducks are always good. But again, remember, it's a loaded league, man. No more conferences in the Big Ten. So, I mean, Iowa's going to be much better. That kid from South Dakota State that they got, or North Dakota State, maybe it's North Dakota State. They're going to actually score points in Iowa this year. They're going to be better. Indiana, Kirk Cignetti's a really good coach. He lost a lot of guys. I think this team is still very competitive. Illinois, we saw make great strides under Brent Bielema last year. Michigan State can't help but be better. Michigan, if Bryce Underwood is a real deal, Michigan could be back. Minnesota, tough out. Cornhuskers, I've got to said this last year. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Third year under Coach, what's his name? Damn it. There goes my brain. There goes my brain again. Crap. The hell? Let me check. I always kick myself when I got to look because too many things going on in my brain at once. My brain just can't handle it. Why is Nebraska not listed here? What the hell's going on? Oh, I see what happened. Nebraska. Matt Rule. Jeez, I swear to God, I didn't even see the name because I couldn't find it. Matt Rule. Third year under Matt Rule at Temple, big year. Third year under at Baylor, big year. Went to the Big 12 championship game. Third year Nebraska. Nebraska is one of those teams from outside the top 25 I'm going to tell you to keep an eye on. But again, it's a very tough Big Ten. Ohio State, we know. Oregon, we know. Penn State will be good, even though they won't beat the good teams. UCLA, I expect to be better, Danny. We'll see if getting a new quarterback helps there. SEC, or USC, sorry, I think will be better. Where are these teams? Let me go back through this top 25. I didn't finish it up. Where did I leave off? I only did the top 10, right? Maybe I didn't even do that. Again, top 5, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Clemson. Oregon's is 7. Alabama's 8, probably overranked. LSU 9, right where they should be, I think. Miami probably overranked at 10 until I see more. Arizona State, great young head coach, Dillingham. Illinois, much improved. South Carolina, I like, maybe better than 13. Michigan, 14. Ole Miss, 15. SMU, we forget about. Bring back a lot of guys. 16. Florida, off of some great momentum from last year. All 5 losses to teams that were ranked in the top 15 when they lost to them. Tennessee, always tough. Indiana, I think, will be as good, maybe even better. Kansas State, Texas A&M, Iowa State, BYU, Texas Tech, $55 million invested in this roster at 24. And Boise State at 25. I like Clemson a lot this year. Who do we bring up here? Oregon, I like. Could Michigan have a big bounce back year? I think so. I think they can. I like Sherrod more. I don't think you're going to hear all the noise from outside the program like you heard last year. I think Bryce Underwood is going to be the deal breaker, right? You got a lot of these teams. I told you 7 of these teams in the top 10 have a new quarterback. Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, and Miami, all with new quarterbacks this year. So, again, all those top 10 teams, the teams I can see falling out, I have this feeling about Georgia, and I'm really sorry I feel that way, Rick. And Miami and Alabama. 3 teams that could fall out. And if Alabama's that bad, then LSU could go there and win. Basement Bob's still around, Alan. How are you, Alan? Hope you're feeling okay. Keep that back in shape, my friend. Get out of that freaking manual labor shit, man. Basement Bob Solrummy, I haven't heard from him in years. I bring his name up just to kid around. I think his mom kicked him out of the basement, and who knows where he is now. Living off the government somewhere. Texas will be 11-1 because of their soft schedule unless they lose to Ohio State. Listen, they're playing at Ohio State week 1. I said 3 top 10. I don't think there's ever been a NCAA week, much less opening week, with 3 top 10 teams playing each other, or 6 top 10 teams playing each other. Texas at Ohio State, which, by the way, is Coach Corsor's last game on game day. He started, I think the first game he did on game day was at Ohio State. He will end at Ohio State, and that should be a very bittersweet day. Notre Dame at Miami, huge game to start for both these teams. LSU and Clemson is the other one, and probably the other best team in opening day. Best game is the fourth best game is probably drops all the way to North Carolina and TCU. You're going to make me look at Texas's record now, right? Or schedule now. By the way, they're playing in the SEC. And by the way, Alan, I don't know if you heard me. Your coach is under more pressure than maybe any coach in the country. Brett Venable doesn't get it done this year. I'm pretty sure he's going to be out. What am I looking for? Texas. Let's look at Texas's schedule. At Ohio State. Even Texas has got a question mark. We don't know what Arch Manning is. I'm pretty sure I know what he is, but I don't know for sure. I'm going to call that a win for Ohio State. San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston, those are all wins. At Florida, that's not an easy game, Alan. They got Oklahoma. Kentucky. At Kentucky's not an easy game. They'll win it. At Mississippi State's a win. Vanderbilt. At Georgia, not an easy game, although I am predicting Georgia will have a very off season. Arkansas, Texas A&M. That's not a terribly strong schedule. I'll give you that. But I think you're underestimating the Florida game. I think this team goes 10-2. I think they lose Ohio State. I think they lose to Florida. It's early for me to say. Drew Lard is going to be in there. Lenora Sellers is going to be there. I call him Norris. Lenora Sellers, I think, is the front runner. I'll give you a front runner right now. Had a great year last year out of nowhere for South Carolina. I think they'll be better, and I think he'll be better this year. See if I can front runners right now. See what we can get. Can't go to a betting site. This is my work computer I'm looking at. Obviously, Arch Manning's name is going to come up, right? Kevin Jennings, don't forget about at SMU. He's a guy to think about. Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame had a great season last year. If a running back can have a chance to win, I think it might be him. Nussmeier from LSU, I'm not so sure I'd make him a contender right this moment. But Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. Sam Levitt. Quarterbacks all over the place, right? Alar, Levitt, Sellers. I mentioned the kid from SMU. Arch Manning will be there. Nico, no. So I'm going to say Sellers is my favorite right now. Is this for the final? Oh, this is for the college football. I'm not going to make these predictions until probably just before week 1, which I think is maybe I got to do it before week 0. I don't know. We'll see. Georgia, I think, will not be in the playoff. That'll be my big takeaway from this group right now. Ohio State, yes. Clemson, yes. Texas, yes. Penn State, yes. Notre Dame, yes. LSU, yes. Oregon, yes. South Carolina, yes. Texas Tech will have to win the Big 12, I think, to get in. Miami, it's going to be hard for the ACC to get 2 teams. There might have to be a one-loss Clemson or Miami team to get in there. And you've got James Madison getting that group of 5 bid. Let me just look at my group of 5 contenders here. I do like James Madison a lot, just to be clear. Who else will I say look out for? And I'll give you my official picks later on here in August. Boise State lost too much, probably. And the Mountain West, by the way, is going to be broken up here this next year, too. So, boy, James Madison, huh? Out of the Sun Belt. It's a good team. It's not a bad pick. How about I go way out on a limb and I say Navy? I don't know. We'll see. These aren't bad picks. The ones I would say most in danger here would be James Madison, Miami, Georgia. Texas Tech, listen, they're $55 million in. They should be in a college football playoff. Could the Sun Devils be competitive? Yes, I think so. They've still got Levitt at quarterback. They lost Scadaboo, their top running back, but I believe they've got some good transfers coming in. They've got one of the great young coaches in the country, Dillingham. I'll give you another outsider, and they're ranked, I think, when I say they were ranked in the coaches poll right now, they're ranked 11th, Michael. So this is a team that I think could actually win the Big 12 again. Texas Tech will be tough. I think UCF could be a team to watch there with Scott Frost coming back. If he needs to get himself humble a little bit. And if Nebraska didn't humble him, I don't know what will. I'll give you some outsiders to take a look at it right now. Teams from that might do some damage. I just had one in my head and I didn't think about it. Navy's a team I'm going to say keep an eye on for that group of 5 pick. In the ACC, teams we wouldn't think about, Georgia Tech, be careful of Georgia Tech. Be careful of Duke. North Carolina, don't think is going to get it done in year 1 there. SMU is going to be tough. Syracuse. Brown is such a good coach. They've done some great recruiting. They've got a great wide receiver class coming in here. Whether they can replace McCord or not is going to be the big question there. The Big 12. Utah's another team. Had a very bad year last year. Injuries really caught up with them. But again, Kyle Whitting is one of the best coaches in the country. He's back. Don't know how much longer. This could be his swan song. I watch for Utah to bounce back and be in the conversation for the playoff. In the Big 10 outsiders, I mentioned Nebraska. Year 3 under Matt Rule, usually a very good year. Time will tell. A lot rests on the growth of their quarterback as well. USC, not in the top 25. They weren't in the top 25, right? No. I know Danny doesn't want to hear this. Underdog, a chance to get into that playoff conversation. Problem is the Big Ten. Right now, these teams have not, unless they've done a better job in the transfer portal and in recruiting, these teams, UCLA, USC, have got to get bigger and stronger in the trenches, or they're not going to compete in the Big Ten. Until they do, they will not compete in the Big Ten. Oregon and Washington, even to a lesser extent, were much more prepared to play well in the Big Ten. I like the pick of Allen on James Madison to have a chance at the playoff. Trying to see if anybody in the Conference USA. Sam Houston's a team to be careful of, but I don't think they can get ranked. This is the problem. It's going to be hard for James Madison. They could be the highest ranked of the group of 5s. See, the group of 5s are going to be much weaker this year, I think, than Boise was last year. UNLV is another team be careful of. I think they're going to be much better this year under year one of Dan Mullen. And they were in play last year for quite some time. I just don't like the Mountain West a lot this year. That's why I think UNLV might win that league. I mean, Oregon State, Washington State, again, no chance because they don't have a league. I mean, they do. It's the Pac-12, but it's 2 teams. And if an outsider in the Southeast Conference, maybe your Sooners. Alan, did you put them in the you didn't put them in your playoff, did you? I would give them an outsider ranking in the playoff. Tennessee, I would give an outsider ranking in the playoff. Tech is somewhat of a homer pick. 2 of my aunts graduated from Tech. It's not a bad pick, though. The Big 12, listen, last year, the Big 12 is one of those leagues that is always going to be fun because the teams we thought were going to be good last year really struggled. The teams we didn't think were going to be any good, BYU, Arizona State, were really good. Oklahoma State was 0-9, 1-9. What were they? 1-9 in conference. 0-9 in conference. Sorry. I like that. Listen, they invested more than anybody I think ever has. I don't think Ohio State spent this much last year. $55 million. So while it might be a homer pick, Alan, I think it's a good pick. Smart pick. Lost to LSU keeps them out. I don't know. So anyway, that's where I am. I mean, I've got. We'll look at and we use the AP poll until once it comes out. I don't expect it to be a lot different than this coaches poll. Quite frankly, you see some teams flip flop. But when the playoff poll starts, then we certainly will revert to that. A couple other things. What time we got here? 8:00. We won't wrap it up yet. Where's my want to look at this. This is a place that I always by the way, I mentioned this at the top, and I don't know if anybody heard because we're having some problems with the Facebook feed and whatnot. Week 0, I think is a very interesting week. There's 3 games that interest me a lot. UNLV and Dan Mullen's debut against Idaho State, Iowa State and Kansas State with a very early Big 12 game, and then Fresno State and Kansas trying to get the ship righted. They played really good football the second half of the season last year as they got healthy. Lance Leopold's still one of the great coaches in the country. What else we got here? I'm trying to look at some things that were brought up earlier in some conversations. Traditional rivalries. If you could bring back a traditional rivalry, or if you could preserve a traditional rivalry, who would it be? I mean, because this has come up because USC and Notre Dame may be going away. If I could preserve a couple, and I'm not going to say Ohio State and Michigan because that's not going away. I would say Oklahoma State needs to come back, right? Texas A&M. Miami, Florida State. South Carolina, Clemson. Washington State. These regional matchups are really important to those regions and when they're good, when the teams are good, or at least one of them is good, have some national appeal. Iowa State, Georgia Tech. I mean, you got to find a way you can't lose all of these traditional rivals. It's going to hurt the game too much. You know, it's a good question. Deion, we know Deion. I don't think Deion's going to the NFL, personally. I don't think Deion's. I think he might go to a different school. I'll be honest with you. I feel bad because I thought a lot of the health issues and the rumors about him all this summer were a bit overdone. And I thought Deion might have been looking for a way out with Shedeur gone and Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner, gone. I thought he might be looking for a way out. Obviously, that was a very bad miscalculation on my part. I didn't list Colorado as one of my teams I thought were a sleeper. I don't think they're a contender in the Big 12. Let me go through there. And I don't think Deion's going to the NFL. I think he could go to another college or he might step away. Given his recent health issues, that shame on me for making a snap judgment about what I thought his motives were. All right. Here's Colorado's record. I think they lose to Georgia Tech at home. I like Georgia Tech and Brent Key a lot. Their coach is really good. They'll beat Delaware. I think they lose at Houston. They beat Wyoming 2-2. They're going to lose at BYU, who destroyed them in a bowl game. So what is that? Hold on. One. I had them 2-2. That's 2-3. I think they lose at TCU. That's 2-4. I think they lose Iowa State. That's 2-5. I think they lose at Utah. That's 2-6. Beat Arizona, 3-6. Beat West Virginia, 4-6. Lose to Arizona State. Lose to Kansas State. I got a 4-8 season for Deion. And I don't know how you're getting an NFL job off of that. I think Colorado's his last job. Given his health situation, given his motivations, and his kids being gone from this program, and maybe somebody wants to take a shot at the name and whatnot in the NFL, but I think this summer of surgery and treatment for his bladder cancer and the season this team might be in for, I think it's a 4-8 team as we sit here today. Because you're not hearing any buzz. Because again, remember, he doesn't recruit. He uses the transfer portal almost exclusively. I don't hear about 5-star recruits going to Colorado, or even Deion talking to them, or his scouts talking to them. His recruiters talking to them. Tough season. Good question, though, Michael. And I think it's sad. I have nothing against Deion at all. None. But this team last year was a lot. Listen, 3 players, because the other wide receiver was pretty good too, Horn. This team lost too much. Those 3 guys made up like 80% of their offense. I don't know where they're going to get it. And I think some of the teams they're playing this year are going to be improved. And I think 4-8 is going to be very, very tough. I'm looking at an ESPN article that has them in the running for the title. I just don't see it. I don't see it right now. I could be wrong. I've been wrong about and again, we're talking about this in August. So, that's a great question. I like Mike Norvell a lot. Let's take a quick look, shall we, at Florida State. because I do think they bounce back this year. I like the kid, even though he lost his job at Boston College. Castellanos, the quarterback, lost his job at Boston College. Bill O'Brien trying to get that program righted. They had a little bit of they weren't seeing eye to eye, let's say. I like this kid, and I think Mike Norvell might harness his talent. Bad pickup when they brought DJ in there last year, DJU, because that just was not a good fit for anything. They had a horrible portal year, and I think this team will bounce back to some degree. They're going to be Fordham. I think they'll win at Michigan State. I think they'll win at Stanford. To beat California, this team could start 4-0. They're going to go to Pittsburgh, which will be a tough game for them. I think they might lose 4-1. Lose to Clemson 4-2. They'll beat UConn. That's 5-2. Probably lose at Louisville. That's 5-3. They got Notre Dame on the schedule. That's 5-4. SMU 5-5. This could be a 6-6 team, which is going to be an improvement over last year. Don't know if that's going to be enough for Mike Norvell to keep his team, though. Right now, I see this team as a 6-6 team. Let's just say they beat Pitt 7-5. The games I've got them losing, the only games I've got them losing that I can see them having a chance to win is maybe at Syracuse or against Georgia Tech at home. So, improvement? Yes. Tremendous improvement? Not so much. What else did I have here? There's some great stories, though. Let me look at hang on one second. Top. I had this up before. Arch Manning is one of the big stories. Arch Manning and Texas, one of the big stories coming this year. Bill Belichick, what he will do in North Carolina, big story this year. Dabo Swinney, trying to reignite the energy and the passion and the winning tradition of Clemson, and winning maybe his third national championship if he can do that. That's a big story. I was trying to get some help. Can't get myself some help here. What else might be? Let me just look at the top 25 here, and we'll. Penn State, Georgia, James Franklin trying to get over the hump and get to a national championship game, winning the Big Ten. Big stories. Notre Dame continuing that momentum. Big story. Marcus Freeman, I think, is one of the better coaches in the country. I think he's growing into this job and getting better every year. I know Rick Sherlock's not with us, and he'll disagree with me. I'm really not sure why. The evidence all points to this man has grown into this job to become one of the better coaches in the country. 2 different seasons. They've had games and starts that could have destroyed their team. His very first year, they lost 2 of their first 3 games, one to Marshall, and that team finished 9-4 and got to a decent bowl game. Last year, great expectations, won their first 5 or 6 games and lose at home to Northern Illinois. A lot of teams would have quit. They made it to the national championship game. With great pressures and expectations at Notre Dame, this guy has had to learn on the job, and I think he's done very, very well. Tennessee, that is a good one. Michael's got me checking everybody out tonight. That's okay, though, because we got another 15 minutes to kill or something like that. This is what we do. I do this when, I like going through these schedules. And then we do this from time to time. As the season goes on, we go back and we look through the schedules and see what we see remaining. You can save this for posterity, too. Remember, I'm making these predictions, though, with, very little to go on other than early rosters. I think Syracuse is going to be this Syracuse-Tennessee game, bet the over. I'm going to tell you right now. This is a week 1 game. It's a neutral field. I think Syracuse beats Tennessee. They win against ETSU the next week. That's 1-1. They're going to lose it. I got Georgia at home. I'm going to give them a win against Georgia at home because I'm down on Georgia a bit. So I got to have Georgia lose some games. They're going to lose to Tennessee. So that's 2-1. They beat UAB 3-1. Beat Mississippi State 4-1. They beat Arkansas. That's 5-1. At Alabama, this could be the key to their whole season, Michael. But I think they're going to lose it 5-2. At Kentucky, another tough place to go and play. Kentucky's always tough under Mike Stoops. Almost left there this year. I think they win that game 6-2. I'm going to have them beat Oklahoma 7-2. Beat New Mexico State 8-2. Lose to Florida 8-3. Beat Vanderbilt 9-3. How about that record for Tennessee? Could be a little different. Not a really tough. I mean, they got to go to Alabama. They got Georgia at home, which is good for them. And I think Georgia's on a down streak. Let me do Georgia's, and I wish Rick were here to argue with me. Oops, I can't do it that way. And it gives me no great pleasure. I'm not looking to get on Kirby Smart and this Georgia Bulldog team, which has been tremendous for the last 6 years. They'll get off to a good start. They'll beat Marshall. They'll beat Austin Peay. They're going to lose at Tennessee. I think they lose to Alabama. That's 2-2. They'll beat Kentucky 3-2. I've got them losing at Auburn 3-3. 4-3 as they beat Ole Miss. Lose to Florida 4-4. 5-4 beating Mississippi State. Lose at Texas 5-5. Beat Charlotte. Beat Georgia Tech. That's 7-5. Now I'll give them one more win somewhere. That's 8-4, and probably 8-4 probably keeps them in the top 25. 7-5, they're out of the top 25. 8-4, they're out of the SEC championship game and likely out of the playoff. There's no way a 4-loss team is getting in the playoff. So, I mean, the games I've got them losing, could they beat Tennessee? Maybe. Can they beat Alabama at home? Maybe. Auburn's going to be better. Hugh Freeze is under some pressure there at Auburn, but I think Auburn's going to be much better this year. I think Florida and Billy Napier are a great, great learning experience and a great stepping stone last year, playing the toughest schedule in the country, one of the toughest schedules any team's ever played. And losing 5 games, but all of them were to teams that were ranked in the top 15. So I can see Georgia going 7-5. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying I can see it. James Franklin. Some of the other good stories coming up. Let's see what we got here. Garrett Nussbaummeyer and Brian Kelly at LSU, big story. Can that defense catch up? Catch up with the rest of the season, or with the rest of the The offense. I've lost track of what I was saying. Can the defense catch up at all with the offense? What's this over here? Show scenes panel. I got some new stuff on StreamYard. What happens if I do that? I don't know. Don't hit it, Keith. You can ruin what you're doing. Let's see what else we got here. What do I want to take a look at? The new Pac-12, by the way, is going to be a story that unfolds as the season goes on. They're still looking for more teams. They've got 8 football-ready teams, which means they can play in 2026. Texas Tech is officially on board as a 9th member, the 8th that plays football. Remember, Gonzaga is part of this new big Pac-12, and they will not play. They got one more season in limbo, which really hurts Washington State and Oregon State. Washington State, was on the peripheral would have been on the peripheral of a playoff spot last year if they'd actually been playing in a conference. But the rest of this league, it's been tough because the Mountain West has been threatening some legal action against the teams that are leaving. Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, and Utah State all leaving. And the question, outside of the legal ramifications, which nothing's going to come of this, we're going to have a Pac-12 that, by the way, these leagues need to start counting how many teams they have, which is going to consist of, again, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Utah State, Washington State, Oregon State, and Texas State. Is there any chance this league regains its power conference status? No, not unless you find a way to bring a Notre Dame into the field. I don't think you're going to poach one of the other big names. Makes no sense for Notre Dame to consider going to the Pac-12. They're better off on their own, even though scheduling will get harder and harder for them. But it's going to be fun to have the Pac-12 back. Again, new league with 100 years worth of history. One of the saddest things, I've said this for a long time, and there's been a lot of sad things that have come out of realignment. Yes, you're seeing great matchups, week in and week out, but some of the great rivalries are gone. In a league, and to me, the worst thing of all of this realignment is the fact that a league with 125 years worth of history just disappeared into thin air. And they're going to try to rebuild it. And they've got a TV contract, which is a start, but it's going to be kind of sad to see what goes on here. Before we wrap it up tonight, and I see our audience dwindling, which is fine. Once we get football actual games to talk about, things get better. Let's look at the matchups here in week 0. I talked about Iowa State and Kansas. I like a lot. I'm interested in this Vegas game because of the Dan Mullen era starting. I want to see what Kansas can get out of the gate a lot better than they did last year. A lot of injuries and other factors. Sam Houston, who could be a sleeper, I think for a take this off here, Michael. For a group of 5 pick. The group of 5 pick is going to be wide open, man. I think. Then when you get into the actual first week of the season, week 1, you got Boise State going to South Florida, which is going to be interesting. I'm only picking out the games I like here and might have some impact on other things. There are, as I said, some really good matchups. Nebraska, Cincinnati is an interesting matchup. That won't matter. I'm always interested in Army. They'll play Tarleton State. Not going to be a good one. Appalachia State, Charlotte could have implications in the playoff. Picks when we're talking about the group of 5 teams. Auburn and Baylor is going to be an interesting game. Baylor rebounded a bit. Aranda was on the hot seat last year, and they had a bounce back season. Not a great season, but a reasonably successful one. Hugh Freeze is on that hot seat at Auburn now. This is going to be an interesting week 1 game. Georgia Tech and Colorado. Vegas again against Sam Houston. Playoff implications probably in that game. I know it's the first week in September, or not even. It's the last week in August, actually. At Syracuse, Tennessee, I think that's a great matchup. I'd mentioned Carolina and Tennessee maybe being the fourth best after these top 10 matchups, but maybe this is the fourth best game. You got the huge one, Texas going to Ohio State. Going through this list, trying to find a team that James Madison, who they're playing. Alabama, Florida State. You're going to find out a lot. Your question, Michael, about Florida State. They're going to get Alabama at home. We may find out about 2 teams in that game. Who else we got here? We got a couple big games at night. Albany here locally will go to Iowa and get a bunch of money to get their asses kicked. Coastal Carolina, Virginia, I find to be an interesting game in week 1. UTSA and Texas A&M. Don't count out that AAC team. I couldn't remember where UTSA was playing for a second. LSU and Clemson, huge game. Big implications in this game. LSU doesn't win their opening game hardly ever. Clemson and Dabo Swinney trying to get back in that mojo. And I think Dabo's back. I think Clemson's back this year. I think they're in the playoff, and I think they have a chance to win. Let me go through here. I see a couple comments. I see your comment, Bo. Let me just see what else I got here for California. Oregon State could be interesting. Utah, UCLA could be interesting. Colorado State, Washington could be interesting. Notre Dame, Miami, huge game on Sunday night in a standalone game. Virginia Tech, South Carolina is an interesting game. Then Monday, all by itself, now North Carolina and Bill Belichick debut against TCU. I'm sure I'm right saying, Keith, the Jewel Crown game, Army Navy will never be removed. No, they can't. They'll never remove that. There is probably the thing that will happen, though, is it will lose its standalone standing, that between the conference championship games, or is it played before the conference? It's the week before the conference championship games. And I think they're liable to lose that just because they're both in conferences now. And some talk about realigning the schedule and whatnot. There's going to come a time they probably don't have the stage all to themselves, which I think will be sad in itself, but that game will never go away. There are some, there's some great, I've been talking about it for the last hour and a half, and I think there's some very interesting games in week 1. I don't think ever we've had 3 games to start a season, maybe ever in a week, where you've got 6 top 10 teams playing against each other. Texas at Ohio State, Notre Dame at Miami, LSU at Clemson. I think, and I just went through a bunch of other games that I think are really interesting. I'm telling you, Tennessee and Syracuse will be an exciting game. Bet the over. Have we got a line on that yet? This will be my first week in the cigar box, by the way. And the over, and that's going to be 54.5. Tennessee's a 14.5 point favorite. Syracuse is going to score some points this year, I'm telling you. I know that they got to replace McCord at quarterback. How well they do that. They brought a kid in. Who the heck is their quarterback? Damn it. They got a transfer coming in. McCord was tremendous. I know that. Oh, Angeli. Steve Angeli from Notre Dame. I did know that. Listen, they got a plethora of great wide receivers. They got one of the best wide receiver recruits in the country coming in here. They'll surprise some people. And you got the Bill Belichick era in Notre Dame. Notre Dame. That'd be more interesting, wouldn't it? At North Carolina starting it with TCU coming to Chapel Hill. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. I'm still not certain Bill Belichick is in this for the long haul. We'll find out. I do think if a job opens up in the NFL in 26, he could have a short-lived tenure. Remember, his buyout now is $1 million. So it won't cost anything to get him out of that job if he just decides to leave. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping in late, but we're going to wrap it up. Great first week. We're back from hiatus and glad to be here. Sorry about the glitches at the top. Facebook is, again, I used to be able to stream. I stream the National Streaming Sports, a professional sports show beforehand. And same thing I do on Sunday mornings. And I used to have multiple streams on Facebook. Now they will not do that. So if I don't cancel the one, I can't start up the other, which is why I end my sharing of that show before we get done. And I apologize for that to them, but it's the only way I can get my show live. Unbelievable. Michael, thank you for tuning in over there in the UK. You tune in every year. Michael, we will have we're going to have a college football pool and also a pro football pool. We'll get started up here in a week or so. Actually, I'll probably set up in the next couple days to get people registered. So we'll have some fun with that. And we'll see you guys in a week or so. I'll actually see you Friday morning with Jack. I can't do this. Lately, my machine won't let me talk over the music. I'll be on with Jack with the Jack and Keith Weekend Playbook on Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll have the MLB update at 3 p.m. Friday Eastern, and Sunday Stream of Consciousness on Sunday at 8:30 a.m. And I'll be right back here next Wednesday at 7, and almost every Wednesday throughout the college football season, even when I'm on vacation, if we can make it work. Guys, we'll see you. Have a great Wednesday night and Thursday. Bye-bye.